We wanted to set the stage for Sabrina, get to know her a bit more personally, get to know a bit about, the inspirations and the ideas and everything behind the show that we all watched. So get comfortable, get cozy. One thing I must say though is that obviously they say that Somali girls are lacking in iron, but they're not lacking in support. They're not lacking in support, absolutely. So no, of course, I just wanted to say real quick, just a quick, round of applause for Sabrina. For the amazing show that you've done. And now I wanted to kind of kick it off by asking, just on a personal level, obviously we're at the Royal Court Theatre, which is a massive place and has got a lot of history, a lot of big people came through here, How does it feel for you that the idea that you had is now being shown at such a level like this?
It's sick. It's like such a full circle moment. I think initially when we were doing it at Rich Mix early on, we dreamed of going to Royal Court and imagine if we put our play on here. So yeah, it seems like a full circle moment. I've done 2 playwriting groups with the court, and at the time when I was doing the intro to playwriting group, Dugsi Dayz was still it was 35 pages, 40 pages. So it was a scratch play still. I was still writing it and developing it for Edinburgh, but it was so helpful being part of those playwriting groups because I learned how to be a really good playwright, and a lot of the stuff that I learned from there I use in my script, so it feels right.
I mean, obviously, and we can obviously see that today about how great it was. I wanted to as well kind of know a bit more because it's for me as even a creative myself, there's always the interesting part that I always want to know about other creatives in having the initial idea and the spark from the beginning to actually the creation of it all. Because when I first saw Dugsi Dayz on billboards and stuff like that, the first thing obviously I had PTSD.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the world? How did this follow me everywhere? But then secondly, it's being shown in Edinburgh, it's being shown in different places where it feels like they might not culturally understand that the same way we would. So I kind of wanted to know what the idea was behind starting Dugsi Dayz and why to talk about that specific campaign.
It was for that specific reason, not to traumatize people, but I wanted something so people can look back on, reminisce on their times on Dugsi. And I feel like Dugsi is a perfect conversation starter with anyone who's Somali or Muslim who grew up in the UK. If you tell them oh, what was your experience like in Dugsi? You're gonna hear the funniest stuff. Yeah. So I wanted to write something where people can look back on and be oh, I saw those girls in Dugsi. I've been in those situations in Dugsi, and it's nice to come to the theatre and think back on those times, and they can leave and have conversations with their friends and stuff. So yeah,
absolutely. And you know what it's because of that, because of kind of how niche I guess you could kind of say it was in terms of the Dugsi Dayz, did you feel okay, did you have any doubts writing through it, maybe people might not understand, maybe people might not get where I'm trying to come across, or did you not really think about that too much?
Not initially at all. I think because I was writing for Somali Week Festival and at Rich Mix, and I did it the year before with Side-Eye, our audiences are 99% Somali or Black Muslims. So I was they'd get it, so I didn't have to worry about putting it on a stage at Royal Court, which is anyone could come, if that makes sense. But I think I liked that, the fact that I knew at the time my friends are going to come see it, they're going to show support, and I knew that they'd find it funny and they'd enjoy it. So I think at the time when I was writing it, that was the main thing that was in my head. But obviously once we started going to Edinburgh and go to New Diorama, and even now at the court, our audiences obviously look so much more, way more different than they used to be. And I think I do sometimes have that at the back of my mind. I was does it, some nights are so different and other nights it hits so well, and it's trying not to think about that because the people who we did write it for initially.
You're saying in terms of not thinking too much about, the people that I didn't write for are here?
Yeah, I guess so. I think naturally, theatre's supposed to be inviting, anyone can come see a theatre show, and I think we didn't realise just how much our audience would change over time. Once we went to Edinburgh and when we went to New Diorama, and even at the court, I think we still felt pretty safe. We're the same audiences as who came at Rich Mix will come again, but a lot of them have already seen it already, and the court were on for a much longer run as well. So we're having new people come in every single night, but yeah, I'm still I'm still confident in the play, and like I know like it's still like a good play, and it still resonates with a lot of people. But that is like at the back of my head sometimes.
Of course, and obviously I think you said it beautifully. Kind of just like understanding the people that you was writing it for.
Yeah.
I think we spoke before about sometimes the people that you didn't write for, like you got a review that you didn't, that wasn't necessarily nice. But what I wanted to know in terms of more of the creative standpoint is, so you got a review that necessarily you didn't like, but then how are you still able to put yourself in a mind frame to still be able to perform after that?
It's new. I feel like I'm learning so much about myself as a writer, and I do genuinely feel like a lot of the time, like bad reviews or good reviews are like a rite of passage. But I think naturally, as a writer, you are vulnerable. You're putting your work on for the first time. Like you're hearing what people think about your work, and I think at the same time, as I am open, sometimes it's kind of like. I was speaking to like other black playwrights, and it's so difficult sometimes because we want to be open to criticism, and like your work, if you're putting it out there, it's going to get critiqued. But sometimes it's kind of like, what's the intention? Yeah, it's vulnerable, but it's like, where is this critique coming from? And I think a lot of the time, like people genuinely see characters like us on stage, and they don't see us existing in like a comedy, or like they see us in like a drama, or like they're like, if you're going to take up these spaces, you're going to have to move us, you're going to have to educate us, or like disarm us or something. And I don't know, I feel like sometimes people do come into Dugsi Dayz and they're expecting a different play, and they get vampires and they get trolls, and they're like this is not what I signed up for.
That's what I feel like is amazing about it. The fact that like usually, like you were saying, in these spaces is kind of like a lot of, here's a story that's very trauma dumping and like very like woe is us. But this wasn't that. This was
because I was literally writing it for like the girls who understand. Like I think some nights where we do have like a predominantly Muslim audience, like as soon as I mention the monkey girl, there's like a collective like, oh no, like they already know what's gonna happen. Or
monkey girl was wild.
She was traumatic, or like Deg Den. But other nights they're kind of like, why is this monkey girl so scary? And I'm like, you guys don't understand. You had to be there. So it's so different sometimes when like I think. They think if these girls are going to be in the stream and they're going to be opening up about something, it's going to be something juicy, it's going to be something traumatic. And they don't get that, and I feel like you're not going to get that, do you know what I mean? And like, even when we do like touch on Duck and Ellis, like I never ever wanted to sit with it. Like I was always like, no, let's undercut it with a joke. Let's stop, like, this is getting too serious, I don't like it. Because I was like, I don't want the play to be about Duck and Ellis as much as I can make the whole play about Duck and Ellis or Hanny's experience and like her journey, but I didn't want it to be about that, so. Is
it too much because it's too trauma dumping, or you just kind of wanted it a bit more fun?
I think it's more so like, who am I writing it for, if that makes sense? Like, if you want to see a play about that, like, why do you want to see that? It's just weird. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if you're from a community and you understand and you've been through that, like, I understand why you could enjoy something like that. But sometimes I feel like I'm so conscious over like the people who are coming to see the play, and I never ever want to feed into any like questions or like stereotypes they have and like answer things for them. So I'm always like really protective of these stories. Like even Hanny's Duck and Ellis story, like, we've had a lot of rewrites on it where I was like, oh, okay, like sometimes it's too serious, sometimes it's not too serious. And like, I think I enjoyed it more when we were performing it in Rich Mix at New Diorama and the audience were laughing. And I know like sometimes it'd throw off the actor off, but like, cause they knew as soon as she said like, we're going to Dubai, they were like laughing. And as soon as she said I was in Somalia and these armed forces came to the house, and like the Somalis would be laughing, and like in Royal Court, everyone's like, whoa. Like, what is going on? This is not okay. This poor girl, literally. But yeah, I liked it in Rich Mix when everyone was more like, we knew, and like my friends would be like, oh my gosh, I went to Duck and Ellis after I was laughing so hard. And I kind of missed that with like the audiences like we had before and everything.
Hands up, anyone Duck and Ellis here? Oh wow, really? I was just joking.
No, you created a safe space right now. You're like.
Do you want to sit here and talk about it? No? No, but also I want to say, because it's like, there kind of is sometimes like a fine balance between, especially when you're in a royal court, a lot of the time it's not going to be the audience that you did write it for. So it's like finding that right balance between what's culturally and what's like kind of universal in understanding. And I feel like you guys did that really well, because if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it's not like crazy set changes, like all these things happening. It's just like 4 girls in one space, but it's like you guys are able to tell such natural, like flowing stories that like it was funny, and also it had the, you know, the sad elements, you could say. to it. But the one thing I wanted to know as well was kind of like the four characters. What were the inspirations behind them?
My friends, the girls. I mean, Khadija. I don't know if Khadija here today. Is Khadija here? Oh, she had to leave. She was Salma at one point in her life. So, but if you know, you know. Manira was obviously me, and like the Yasmin. So, like, it's genuinely the girls I've met in my life, and I feel like I was one of those girls at one point in my life. Like I was Hani at one point where I'd go into school and I'd be like, I'm not going to talk to anyone today, and I'm going to be like so mysterious, and I'm going to keep to myself. And I was having my emo phase. That was Rawali actually. Oh, wow. She was the Hani. She had her book. Everything, yeah, that was Hani. So it's literally the girls I meet in my life. So it was so easy writing them and stuff like that.
I feel like it's an interesting testament to be able to say this is who reminded me of this one, because I feel like there were such polar characters that this was very much needed in order to make the storyline work. Now that because you were telling me a bit before about sometimes having to put the show, like make it less, sometimes making it more.
Yeah.
And the toughness of like cutting down specific parts. For this one, did you have to cut anything down, or did you?
No, but I think I went through with my directors. They know we had to cut so much in when we go to Edinburgh. Because I think even now it's a little bit long, but there was a lot of cutting through when we were going through the Edinburgh, because we were working under conditions that we were like should not be working. It was very stressful for all of us. But I think. Yeah, it's hard cutting your work. It's so like, you're like, no, you can't cut out that line. Or even the, what's it called? The El Mum line. Like, the girls who got it. Like, I was so happy I put that in there, because when I heard the laugh, I was like, okay, they get it. But yeah, I think now I've learned so much about myself as a writer, and like, you're so protective over like your words and like what you write. Yeah, but I think everyone who's behind Dugsi Dayz, from like the directors to the producers to the actors, they genuinely believe in the play and they want the best for the play. So they're not like attacking you, if that makes sense. It's like to help improve the play. So I become more open and everything to like cutting and like edits and stuff like that now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also I want to say as well that this is also a night for you guys as well. So we will be opening the floor for like Q&As, and you guys can ask all the questions that you want. But before we kind of get into that, I just wanted to know if you had a memorable Dugsi Dayz story.
Me, most of them were not good. They were like, I remember I used to sit on the boys section, because my Helen was like, you're so bad. I don't even want to speak to you like a girl, which is crazy. He was like, I don't even associate, you're gonna sit in the boys section. And when I used to sit in the boys section with my friend, I used to see the funniest stuff, like the boys. It actually wasn't funny, it was actually quite sad. As in, like, they'd get into a lot of trouble, but like, what I found funny was like the Matt Helen's quick tongue. Like, they were rude, like, they were very sarcastic, and they had nicknames for all of the kids. And I was like, his name is Mohammed, like, you cannot call him that. Like, his name was like chicken and chips or whatever. Like, I had a lot of funny memories in Dugsi, yeah.
And I feel like my islands as well, they have a lot of liberty.
Definitely.
Where it comes from.
I don't know exactly where it comes from. They do.
See, your show is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
It was well written, well done. Big up to the crew, the cast, everyone that was doing it.